day is to try to kick somebody's ass. I mean, that's why we're here.
That is caught! Left center! Reds win!
And this ball is launched. High and very deep to right, long gone. It's second of the night. Elly De La Cruz.
Short lead for Pena. Larkin throws it. Do you believe this? That's going to be gone! Back to back. Walk-off home runs. How about this? He's back. He's back. He's back.
And a swing and a drive. Deep left field. This one belongs to the Reds.
Swung on and hit
Deep to left field. That ball is going to be gone. Home run. And the Reds put it tied to score.
Goes to second one. Around the first. Got a double play. And the Reds sweep the Cubs. Breaking ball. Hit high. Hit deep. Way back there. And gone into the second deck and left. Christian Encarnacion Strand walks it off.
Archer does it in his major league debut. He gets the final 3 outs, and the Reds get an extra inning win. A thriller 5-4.
Swung on. Fly ball. Hit the deep right field. That ball is going to be gone. A grand slam home run by Mike Cameron.
2 outs, 2 on. Reds down by 1. Larkin down the line. It's a winner. It's a winner. Here comes Tucker. Here comes Steins. Larkin's won the game. Barry Larkin gets mobbed. Look at this scene. It's synergy.
The stretch, the pause in the pitch, and a line drive, base hit left center field. A single for Aaron Boone, and this one belongs to the Reds. The Reds have won 8 in a row.
Kobayashi with a long look turns it loose, and Dunn hits it to deep right. It's all over, and this one belongs to the Reds. The Reds have won their 5th game in a row. They've defeated the Cleveland Indians on an Adam Dunn 3-run home run, 4-2. In on the corners at first and third, 2 on, nobody out. Here's Royce Ring pitching, no bunt, ground ball by the third baseman into left field. Dave Bruce rounds third, and this one belongs to the Reds.
That's hit pretty good. Guess what? He doesn't need speed. That's gone. He's the king of the Queen City tonight.
With 1 out here in the 11th inning, you sure got to go now.
1 out, pull down the left field line. That ball is going to get the winning run in. Here comes Dave Bruce rounding third, heading toward the plate, and this one belongs to the Reds.
Huge situation for Votto. Why you pay him the big bucks to deliver the goods with 2 outs in the 9th inning? Can he do it? In the gap, right center field, and Votto delivers the goods.
Hit deep center field. Hank Hill going back at the warning track. Oh, he gets one. It's gone. Joey Votto is delivered.
Good afternoon, Reds fans, and happy Chase Burns night. The second Chase Burns night we've had in a 6 days. This guy is gonna be electric tonight again. Andrew, welcome to the show. My first time seeing Chase Burns. I wasn't able to watch the game last week. I'm really excited, but what I'm excited about the most tonight is the Reds have a chance. The Reds are close to the playoff hunt, Andrew. According to fangraphs.com, they have a 15.9% chance to make the postseason as of right now. Andrew, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Well, hey, you know what? We're excited to have you. We're excited to talk Chase Burns. That's where everyone's here. The chat's blowing up. Honestly, chat, this is the most we've had, at least the shows I've been hosting, for a couple weeks. Everyone's excited for Chase Burns and the Red Sox tonight. So we're going to talk about Chase Burns. I think I've said his name about 8 times already. And the Red Sox, and seeing what we're up against. The Reds have 3 against the Red Sox tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday. And then they go on to Philadelphia. But before that, let's talk about the Padres series and the Reds taking 2 out of 3. Andrew, go ahead and kick us off. What was your, overall thoughts on the weekend of the 3 games they had?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like after that second game that they kind of let the series slip away a little bit. It seemed like that was their chance to really capture it and go into to yesterday with a chance to sweep. And then when they're down 2-1 late in the game like they were, closer coming in for the Padres, it just felt like one of those games that wasn't impossible possible victory, but they found a way to do it, and they gained a game on the Padres, and that cannot be understated how important that is at this point in the season, as we're trying to push for a postseason. More importantly, at this point in time, push to be buyers at the deadline.
Yeah, I think all of those exactly. Like pushing towards the buyers at the deadline. I think the Reds are going to be buyers. I see a couple of chats. We're going to talk about it later. To me, at minimum, 2 bullpen arms. We'll see what else that Andrew and I come up with. But another thing to talk about is the Reds had the Padres later in the year. I don't know exactly when they play them. It's going to be either July, August, or September. But taking 2 out of 3 puts you in a good spot for the tiebreak. That's something that gets a little lost here and there. I know they're tied with the Giants. They're up on the Padres. The Reds really need to get going against the Brewers and the Cardinals, because this wild card race could go until the end. We saw it in 2023. The Reds really should have made the playoffs that year, but you know what? That's 2 years ago. That's in the past. We'll talk about that another day. I was excited to see a couple of the guys, and Nick and Trace talked about him last night. Will Benson, what a night yesterday. You and I were talking earlier. He kept trying to get on base. Hey, guys, get me in. Well, he decided enough's enough of me trying to score. I'll just, knock everybody in the 9th. What a rope down the right field line. But even bigger news, Spencer Steer, Friday night, announced today NL Player of the Week, 3 home runs. I posted on X on Friday night that I thought he was going to go full Scooter Gennett, but obviously came up a little short. Would have been fun. Anything else that you noticed over the weekend? You mentioned the bullpen kind of had some issues on Saturday. Could have really the Reds could have swept, but wasn't in the cards.
Yeah, I mean, I was really excited to see Spencer Steer and Will Benson get going. Will Benson has just had the worst luck I've ever seen. He's been flying out to the warning track like every game. And if you look at his expected batting average, his expected slugging numbers like that, they're in the top percentiles in the league, but he just hasn't been able to get him to fall yet. So to see him have a really good day and put a cherry on top of the walk-off was awesome. Spencer Steer's 3-homer game. I mean, it's just a different lineup when Spencer Steer and Will Benson perform. And we saw some of that this weekend. With the bullpen, we saw Lyon Richardson struggle a couple times, and that's the first time this year we've really seen it. And that's what's going to happen when you rely on really young guys. And one of the reasons that they're going to be looking to add bullpen help at the deadline. Yeah,
and I think I didn't get to see Saturdays live, but Barlow, I think, also had some issues as well. And he's been overly solid all year as well. So you're going to have those days. Man, I really wish they could have pulled that off. Well, let's talk pitching. Tonight's matchup is a pitching setup for everyone who wants to pitch, likes to watch pitching. I know one of the guys from Just Baseball said that Garrett Crochet is must-watch TV every time he pitches. Well, tonight must be a great for him because he gets to watch Chase Burns as well. Talk about Chase Burns, what you think about him so far, what you thought about his first outing, and even some of the minors if you've caught up with him down there.
Yeah, I mean, his first outing was electric, right? He comes out of the gates and is striking out the side. And, he had a little bit of trouble there, but a lot of that was kind of bad luck. So I'm not really concerned about that at all, really. It was a fantastic outing. One thing that makes him a little bit more difficult is because he's so over the top and he has that induced vertical break that people talk about. When he plays that fastball at the top of the zone, it's really tough for hitters to pick up and to be on plane for. So when he's able to utilize that and kind of limit his non-competitive misses. We saw that a few times where he's missing really high. Stevenson's jumping up to catch it or having to block balls in the dirt. Like if he can just limit the non-competitive pitches, he's going to be really, really good. And it's going to be really hard for this Red Sox lineup to get anything going.
Now, when you say that limit the non-competitive pitches, that's something I'm not necessarily familiar with. Is that when it's just a bad pitch, or is that something when you're pitching to get him to the batter to swing at it and miss it?
Yeah, I mean, it could be a couple of things. So if you're missing your spot really badly, If you're throwing a pitch that just it starts as a ball and it ends as a ball, if
Okay.
it's something that like is just never going to get a swing, basically something that doesn't the hitter is never challenged. He's never even thinking that it's a strike. And for him, there's few spots where that can be, and we saw him miss upstairs quite a bit with his fastball, which like I mentioned, you want to play it at the top of the zone, but
Yeah.
when you start it at their eyes, there's never a chance that you're gonna get a swing there or a pop up or anything like that. So when he's around the zone, even when he's outside of the zone, he's still very effective. It's just how far outside the zone is he going to be? Is he going to be 2 to 3 inches where he's still going to get swings and misses, or is he a foot and a half away?
Well, that's something to look for tonight. I'll be locked in on that. I was listening to a couple shows today just to learn about the Red Sox. Fun fact, the Red Sox used to be my number 2 team when I was really young. Big fan of David Ortiz, Big Papi. I had a David Ortiz jersey that said Big Papi on the back. Picked that up in Boston when I was a young kid. Had a couple other sweatshirts and stuff when they were winning World Series. So I've always kind of stayed a little close. Since the Reds have really gotten, more competitive, I've kind of forgot about them a little bit. But one of the things that was interesting to me when I was listening to the show was the Red Sox the lineup struggles against velocity. That plays right into Chase Burns tonight.
Yeah, it absolutely does. I mean, he was running it up to 100 in his first start. We've seen him, get up to 101, 102 in college too. So that plays right into his hand, right? So he should try to exploit that weakness, take advantage of it. And I'm sure that the Red Sox got the scouting report. It still took the Yankees one time through to adjust to him. So I'm more excited to see how he adjusts to their adjustments. You're going to see them make adjustments to what they see in the box. But then it's the pitcher's job to then readjust to what they're doing to try to get them out in ways that isn't necessarily conventional. We saw him use his changeup a couple of times, throwing it into the strike zone, getting called strike threes against the Yankees. And I would like to see him do more of that, just finding more unconventional ways that to get people out than maybe he's used to.
Sounds great. I'll be watching that really, really strong tonight because I'm a little nervous about the other side of the ball. For those who don't know, Garrett Crochet, left-handed starter, ding, 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 left-handed starter for the Red Sox is pitching tonight. Not good for our Redlegs. As you can see in the lineup there, right-handed heavy. The only lefty in the lineup is TJ Friedl, of course, Elly De La Cruz, switch hitter. They've struggled, as well noted. And Garrett Crochet, someone the Reds were really rumored of being in talks with the White Sox over the offseason. Though I really wonder how serious that was because the Red Sox did sign him immediately to an extension. I just don't know if that was in the cards for the Reds. But looking forward to watching Burns. Hopefully Burns can match Crochet, inning for inning. Andrew, any thoughts on Garrett Crochet?
I just hope it goes better than when they face Max Fried. I mean, when they get those left-handed pitchers, it's just been a big-time struggle. I think that Chase Burns has the ability to match what Garrett Crochet does. But I hope that he doesn't put that pressure on himself. If he's able to get through 6-7 innings and keep us in the ballgame, that's all that really matters. So I hope he doesn't go out there trying to outduel Garrett Crochet because that's a pretty tall task.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Crochet, I think top 5, maybe at least top 10 pitcher in the league this year. And I'm looking up the lineup for the Red Sox. Sorry, guys, I did not have a time to do a little graphic in the middle today. But looking up the Red Sox lineup, the Red Sox overall this year have similar batting like to the Reds. They've struggled a lot lately. And they've struggled to win games as well. But a couple guys I'm looking at tonight, I'm, I don't say nervous about, but have my eyes on also just to watch them as a baseball fan. Roman Anthony batting second and playing, the DH tonight. Their top prospect, one of the top, if not the top prospect in all of baseball. The Abreu kid started out like a ball of fire. Looks like he's kind of cooled down a little bit. Former Rocky Trevor Stories, he has power, but overall their batting average, just overall, they've just not played great. Marcelo Mayer, also a top prospect. So I think this is a lineup that Chase Burns can have some success against. And maybe if the Reds can just squeak across a couple runs, they might have a chance. Speaking of getting, past, Crochet, Burns matching him, the Reds did make a bullpen move today. Ian Jabot is put on the IL. Lefty Joe LaSorsa is back up with the big club. I would imagine that just kind of is this end of Sam Moll. Not the biggest drama, but Andrew, any thoughts on that move and the Sam Moll connection possibly?
Yeah, it was interesting with Sam Moll because last year and the year prior, he pitched pretty well. And he's got big time strikeout stuff, but for whatever reason, it just hasn't worked out here. And you look back on that trade, and you can't fault the Reds for making it. In fact, you probably got what you were expecting out of him, right? So it's a little bittersweet to see him go, I guess, or not really see him go, but just kind of see how it's fizzling out here. But the Reds need to make a move to get a left-handed reliever up and see what they have, because quite frankly, Rogers just hasn't been cutting it this season. You look at his surface numbers and they're fine. They're whatever. But when you look at the inherited runners he's allowed and pitching in clutch situations, it just hasn't been great for him this season. So they definitely need left-handed relievers, and this is a chance to see what they got in the farm.
Yeah, I've been disappointed with Taylor Rogers. I thought he would be a little stronger. I'm not sure what it is with him and inheriting runners, like you mentioned. Seems like the guy could be on first base and he's going to score. The one thing that's been a struggle with, and we're about to get into the trade deadline here, the back half. I know the chat is just blowing up with who are they going to trade for, what do you think they're going to get? So we're going to give plenty of time. I love talking trade deadline. Gets me excited even when they trade for a Sam Moll. But the bullpen is not full of guys who can strike guys out. I mean, I remember going to the game, I can't believe it's been 13 years ago, just crazy. I remember going to the game, 13 years ago, and when we had Chapman. You could be going in the ninth inning with, 8 Ks on the Kroger bleachers, and you're going home with pizza.
Yeah,
I mean, these guys can't strike anyone out. That's why I personally, I'm not a fan of Graham Ashcraft in that role. As a high leverage reliever, I am not a fan of Graham Ashcraft. And Taylor Rogers has proved it too. He's just, he's not a high leverage guy. He did have I think perfect inning yesterday. I don't think they had any strikeouts, but again, it was like a fresh inning. He didn't come in and try to rescue the day. It seems like Santion's the big guy there. Hey, before we get to the trade deadline talk, because a lot of people are talking about it, and I'd like to talk more bullpen help because I know that's where you're going with it. We do have an update about Hunter Greene. Hunter Greene, according to Charlie Goldsmith, has a live bullpen scheduled in Boston on Wednesday. Then he'll throw again in Philadelphia before going on a rehab assignment. He said that the rehab process has gone smooth, and Charlie does add in his thoughts on Chase Burns. Hunter Greene's thoughts on Chase Burns. He says, I had high hopes. He has looked fantastic. I love speculation. And chat, throw it in there too. But Andrew, what's your thoughts if Hunter comes back and no one else gets hurt? Cross our fingers. What's your rotation? What do you do? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you go Hunter, Chase, Lodolo, Abbott, Martinez. Am I missing a guy in there?
Brady Singer.
Oh, Singer, that's right. I mean, Nick Martinez has been exceptional out of the bullpen, and I think a lot of people might get caught up and like, oh, we're paying him $21 million or whatever it was that he can't go pitch in the bullpen. I don't care about that. Go pitch in the bullpen. He's been fantastic.
I think that's exactly how they go. I think even after last week, and I don't have it in front of me or I would read it, but Francona mentioned some sort of innings limit or pitch limit for Burns after the All-Star break. So that's like 2 weeks. I believe I did look it up last week. I believe his top innings pitched in college were like 120, and he's already at 100. Don't quote me on that. But he's not like too far off. Like he's not going to make it to the end of the year. We know that, which is why one of my guys is a Martinez type player who I want to bring back in the trade deadline. But I think Martinez goes, but I wonder if they could pair them up. Now, you wouldn't want to make it so obvious where the team knows Burns is pitching the first 4 or 5, and then Martinez is coming in for the last 3 or 4, however it works.
Right.
But I'd be interested to see if they would do that. I think that's more than possible. And it seems that Martinez is built that way. He likes to go that route. So
yeah, I absolutely.
The other option they could do, which I don't think they're going to do this, and this is gonna segue us into trade deadline talk. What if they trade Brady Singer? I'm not saying they should, because he has 1 more year left. But what if they were to trade Singer and bring in a guy who I'm going to mention here, Michael Lorenzen? So you have Lorenzen and Martinez, similar players, and then Chase Burns. I would personally, don't get me wrong, I want to keep Brady Singer. I think he's a good 4 starter. I think they need him going for the rest of the year because he has the innings. The Reds, Nick Lodolo may not make the rest of the year on the innings wise, but let's go ahead, Andrew. Let's jump into it. I know the chat's still talking about it a little bit. What's your thoughts? Give us 2 guys who you want the Reds, maybe that we haven't heard about. Give us 2 guys who you want the Reds to get at the deadline. And let's see if the chat has any other ideas as well.
Well, I'll start with the obvious one that's been mentioned a few times, Aroldis Chapman, which would just be the most fun scenario possible, right? You get the left-handed reliever, high leverage, strikes out guys, high velocity, homecoming. There's a million reasons to go get him. That being said, he's pitching extremely well, and he's 37 years old. How much, that's kind of been the question the last couple of years with him. How much more in the tank does he have? Right now, he looks fantastic. So what has he shown any reason to be worried? Not really. I wouldn't be worried about anything age-wise or performance-wise. He's been great. And I think it would be just the most fun, especially if the Red Sox continue to scuffle. So the Reds might help their own case here this week.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? I think the Red Sox are still in it. I think that whole Devers thing was just get him off my team. They were tired of him. His attitudes, whatever. It just wasn't a mesh. I see David Brown, and good point. Everyone's talking Chapman. I'll give you a couple reasons why I think Chapman is a no-go. Number one, I think the Red Sox still have a shot. Okay. And if they don't, like Nick said last night, they're going to trade him on like the 31st or whatever date the deadline is and get the most for him. And the Reds won't pay it. Number 2, the Reds could have got him if he wanted to come back in the winter, and they didn't at least try, as reportedly. And then number 3, which I think is the most important, for those who don't remember, when the Reds traded him, there were some comments coming out through the paper, I believe, that maybe shouldn't have been made, that Dick Williams at the time, who was the GM, said it was a mandate from Bob Castellini. He said, get him off my team. I would be flabbergasted if the future Hall of Famer is back wearing 54 for the Reds. Now, if it all happens, Colin Cowgill better give up his number, but I have a hard time believing Chapman's back just based on those few things. One name that hasn't been talked about, and you and I met prior to this, and I was looking up things on my phone, different players. I think the Guardians are out of this. I think that they're done. So I think there's some players there that could be interesting. I don't know what it would take to get him back. I think he's on a 1-year deal, or get him here. I think he's on a 1-year deal. $7 million salary, and he's rehabbing right now. So he's been out. Former Diamondback former Mariner Paul Sewald. Now, he's a right-handed reliever, but he's been a closer. He has that experience. I think Paul Sewald is someone off the radar that would be interesting.
Where would you potentially slide him in the Reds bullpen? Would he displace Pagan, or would he kind of be the setup guy now?
I think it would be him, Santillan, Sewald, and Pagan. I think that's just your three.
High leverage.
Yeah. And who knows? Yeah. I honestly, hand up, I don't know what's wrong with Sewald. His arm may be duct taped together. I really don't know. I just know he's rehabbing. Okay. But at the end, in WTI Trader, I mean, Pagan, I think Pagan is great. I really started liking him after the Jim Day podcast shout out. No free ads. I don't think a deep playoff team has Pagan as a closer, but there's been worse closers too. Another thing I'm a little kind of, surprised of, and we've seen him, but the Reds just haven't done a great job of developing bullpen arms. Luis May has been hot and cold. Maxwell down in AAA has been kind of cold all year. But Pagan's been more than solid. But I'd like to see another high leverage arm back there. Another guy I mentioned earlier, Michael Lorenzen. I think the Reds just need innings. I don't think you can stop some of these guys, but if you can have a Michael Lorenzen in the bullpen and just say, hey, we're gonna keep, Abbott hot, because to me, Abbott should be an all-star, maybe even all-star starter. Hot take. Keep him going, but Lorenzen comes in and pitches 3 innings if Abbott only goes 4, just to kind of keep the innings if the Reds are in this. That's another guy. And then my last guy, and then I'll let you finish off. My last guy reminds me of an old school, 2016 Nelson Cruz. Another team that's out of it. I think they're done. I think they're probably going to be selling parts off here soon. Atlanta. I'd like to see them trade a couple low-level or minor leaguers or pitchers, whoever they would need to get rid of for Ozuna. I think just someone who could come in. You're going to slide them right into DH and just say, hey, boys, whoever's playing the best is playing left field, third base, or first. But we got a big bopper here. I'd like to see that. No, I see some chat. I see some chats. Pagan's been great, guys. He's been great. But the idea is just add to it. I just don't think the Dodgers would have Emilio Pagan as their closer. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm crazy. Andrew, go ahead and give us a couple more names that you thought of.
Yeah. Well, first I want to backtrack to the Pagan thing real quick. You're absolutely right about Pagan. I love him. I think he's fantastic. My blood pressure spikes when he goes in the ninth. He's not somebody that, I know is going to be locked down every single time. That's not to say he hasn't been good. He's been really good for us. But I wouldn't be opposed. How much better is the bullpen with him and Santillan being the setup guys for a true Hader or whoever, you name it, closer. There's you hit it on the head there with the Dodgers, and these teams don't go into the playoffs with guys like Pagan as their closer. And Pagan has been fantastic. I don't want to take anything away from him, but he's not a World Series team's closer normally. Now there's exceptions, of course, but I agree with you on that point. So I think getting a high leverage arm would be the way to go. Not necessarily unseating Pagan, but just another option to close out games when it comes down to the wire.
And looking back, go ahead. Yeah, it's hit up the trade deadline, and then we'll be off here.
A guy that is probably not going to be traded, but I think would fit really well because he can play multiple positions, and he's under contract in 2026, is Brandon Lau. And it's weird. Rays are not going to sell. Well, you never know with the Rays. It's tough to say. And if they did trade him, they would need major league talent back. That's how they always operate, or they get somebody that's close They just seem to always win their trades. But Brandon Lau is really, really good. He could slide in at first base. He's played first base. He's played outfield, second base, DH. His versatility and his bat are, to me, everything that the Reds need. Now, it's just, would the Reds pay up for him? Would the Rays let him go? I have no clue. But if you're looking at guys around the league that could potentially fit in with the Reds lineup, I think he's high on the list because he hits for average, he hits for power, he gets on base. He just does a lot of things really well, and I think that he would slide right in multiple spots in the lineup. He's a top half of the lineup hitter. I just think he lengthens it so much and would improve the team a lot. Again, I have no idea how plausible it is, but it's a fun name.
Well, you say it, and I see David in the chat. David, you're right. The Rays are leading, the wild card. The Rays do funny stuff, and this guy's just 30, or he's about to be 31. I don't know what his if he's up for one more year. That's when they like to get rid of players. Right. And that's something else that I haven't looked too deep into, but no one says the Reds can't go get a guy who's controllable. They're not going to do it, but TJ Friedel's a similar instance as Brandon Lau, a guy who's maybe a bit older, on his peak. Hey, let's trade him while we can. I think the Reds should keep TJ Friedel. Again, he should be an all-star this year. Everyone knows it. Everyone's saying it. All-star TJ Friedel. It's going to be a fun few weeks. We got 3 more weeks to go. We have 2 big series here, Boston, Philly, and then we come home to the red-hot Miami Marlins and then the lowly Colorado Rockies. So 7 games at home. If you're near Great American Ballpark before the All-Star break, get down there. I think I'll be down there on the 10th for the big concert, one of the games we picked this year. So let's get down there. Let's cheer on our Reds. If they lose tonight, guys, I don't think it's a huge deal. I did see a friend of the show, Bryce Spalding, put out on X that he hopes the Reds I think it was like 11-4 the rest of the way. I think that's doable. Just keep winning series is really all I ask. And again, another reminder, the Reds have not been swept this year. So before we jump off here, Andrew, who is your star of the night? And who is your score prediction for tonight? Or maybe a prediction.
I think Austin Hayes gets going tonight. He's about the only guy in the lineup that I'm confident when he gets up against left-handed pitching. He's kind of, since coming back from the IL, not done poorly by any means, but hasn't really broke through like we saw him at the beginning of the year when he was healthy. So I think Austin Hayes, I would even be as bold to say that he might hit a big fly tonight. So that's my prediction. I think if everything goes well with Chase Burns' start, they could sneak out of this one in a low-scoring game, 3-2.
So in a similar fashion, I'm going to pick Rhys Hines to hit a home run tonight. He's going to make Jose Barrero's grand slam at Fenway look like child's play. He's going to hit one like 2 streets away. So look out on the big monster tonight for Rhys Hines. I think Burns is gonna have a great start. I think the Reds will win. I'm hoping the Reds win, of course, as always. I think it'll be 3-0. I think the Reds will be able to shut out the Red Sox. It's not going to be a huge, like you said, it's going to be a low-scoring game. But I'm going with the Rhys Hines home run. I think it's going to be one of those games, though. It's going to be a home run that wins it. They're not going to be able to string too many hits together with Crochet, and they might play late. All right. I think that does it for us. Again, Chase Burns night 2.0. What a way to start your career. Game 1 against the Yankees. Game 2 against the Red Sox in Fenway Park. Can we get a go Reds?
Absolutely. Go Reds.
Go Reds. We'll see you all later. Thanks for watching.